High above the plains, etched into the very rock of the earth, lay the formidable kingdom of Edom. It was a land of stark, breathtaking beauty, where crimson mountains clawed at the sky and deep, winding canyons guarded secrets untold. Strategically positioned along vital trade routes, Edom flourished, its prosperity a testament to its imposing natural defenses and the industriousness of its people. These were the descendants of Esau, a lineage they clung to with fierce pride, boasting of their seemingly unassailable fortresses carved directly into the living stone. They were a people hardened by their environment, self-reliant to a fault, and possessed a deep, almost ingrained disdain for their weaker neighbors, particularly the small, often beleaguered kingdom of Judah. At the heart of this proud nation reigned King Zohar, a figure of compelling charisma whose early successes had solidified his rule. Zohar was a man of imposing stature and even more imposing ego. He attributed every victory, every surge in wealth, every strategic advantage, solely to his own unparalleled wisdom and indomitable strength. This constant self-affirmation fed a burgeoning pride within him, turning a natural confidence into a dangerous arrogance. His reign was marked by policies of isolation, a belief that Edom needed no allies, only subjects or obstacles. Expansionist tendencies followed, driven by an unshakable conviction in Edomite superiority, a manifest destiny to dominate the region from their lofty perch. Yet amidst the pomp and self-congratulation, a quiet, marginalized voice began to stir. Obadiah, a lone prophet, a man often overlooked in the bustling courts of Zohar, received a chilling divine warning. It spoke not of invasion or pestilence, but of an internal rot, a spiritual decay. The prophecy articulated Edom's impending downfall, directly linking it to their towering pride. It declared that despite their lofty, seemingly unassailable position among the stars, they would be brought low, utterly despised. Driven by a desperate sense of duty, Obadiah attempted to warn King Zohar to lay bare the divine message before him. But his words were met with nothing but ridicule, his earnest pleas dismissed as the ravings of a madman, a minor inconvenience to be brushed aside by the self-proclaimed genius of the king. A true test of alliances soon presented itself. The neighboring kingdom of Judah, facing a brutal invasion from a powerful northern foe, appealed to Edom for aid, invoking the ancient bonds of historical kinship. Surely, Esau's descendants would not abandon Jacob's in their hour of need? But King Zohar, consumed by contempt for Judah's perceived weakness and a perverse desire to see them further diminished, flatly refused assistance. Worse still, as Judah reeled from the onslaught, Edomite forces, rather than offering succor, exploited their vulnerability. They swarmed Judah's lands not as saviors, but as looters, pillaging villages and capturing fleeing refugees, selling them into slavery. This act of treachery laid bare the true depths of Edom's callousness and self-interest. Then came the first omen, subtle yet significant. A massive rock slide, inexplicable in its timing and scale, blocked a vital trade route through the heart of Edom's mountains. The economic disruption was immediate and palpable. The Edomite elders, ever pragmatic but blind to deeper meanings, attributed it to nothing more than bad luck, a minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of things. Obadiah, however, saw it for what it was, a chilling sign, a whisper of the prophecy beginning to unfold. He spoke of it as a divine tremor, a prelude to greater calamities, but his warnings, as always, were ignored. King Zohar, dismissive and arrogant, waved away the incident, further cementing his unshakable belief in Edom's invincibility. Nothing, he believed, could truly touch his kingdom. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The rock slide, dismissed by King Zohar as a mere inconvenience, was indeed a tremor, a harbinger of the seismic shifts to come. Judah, once a potential ally, now harbored a deep, festering resentment towards Edom for their unforgivable betrayal. The memory of Edomite raiders preying on their weakness, of their people sold into bondage, fueled a hatred that burned hotter than any desert sun. This animosity, once confined to their borders, began to spread like wildfire. Other neighboring kingdoms, having witnessed Edom's casual cruelty and unabashed arrogance towards Judah, started to perceive King Zohar's kingdom not as an unassailable power, but as a dangerous, unpredictable entity, that needed to be contained. Subtle alliances forged in hushed tones and shadowed meetings began to form against Edom, a quiet understanding growing among those who had suffered or feared Zohar's expanding ambition. Consequently, the vital trade routes, once arteries of Edomite prosperity, became increasingly perilous for Edomite merchants. Caravans were ambushed with growing frequency, goods plundered, and traders often disappeared, leading to a palpable internal economic strain that Zohar, in his ivory tower, largely ignored. Whispers of discontent, initially faint, grew into a low hum among the common people of Edom. They were burdened by King Zohar's increasingly harsh taxes, levied to fund his lavish lifestyle and his ever-expanding military, which seemed to bring little but conflict and expense. The Edomite elders, who had once silently endorsed Zohar's rule, now found themselves facing angry questions from their constituents. A small but growing faction of nobles, influenced by the persistent, albeit ridiculed warnings of Obadiah, began to discreetly question Zohar's leadership. They saw the darkening clouds on the horizon, the dwindling trade, the rising animosity, and recognized the prophecy's chilling accuracy. Zohar, however, responded to any hint of dissent with characteristic brutality. Executions of perceived traitors became more frequent. Public displays of power meant to instill fear, yet they only succeeded in further alienating his own people, breeding a deeper, more insidious resentment that simmered beneath the surface. The simmering tensions finally erupted when the allied kingdoms, their grievances united and their resolve hardened by Edom's continued provocations, launched a coordinated attack on Edom's borders. It was a multi-pronged assault designed to overwhelm and confuse. Edom's seemingly impregnable defenses, those formidable fortresses carved into the rock, were indeed breached, but not always through frontal assault. The attacking forces, guided by intelligence gathered over years of observation and fueled by a keen understanding of Zohar's overconfidence, exploited unexpected weaknesses. They found forgotten paths, scaled seemingly impassable cliffs, and bypassed key strongholds that Zohar had deemed invulnerable. The Edomite army, once feared across the region, struggled. Morale plummeted among the rank and file, undermined by the internal divisions and the growing realization that their king's pride had led them to this precipice. The unraveling was accelerated by a profound betrayal from within. A trusted general, a man who had served Zohar for decades, became utterly disillusioned by the king's tyranny and the futility of their cause. He saw the inevitable destruction looming and recognized that Zohar's ambition would consume them all. Secretly, he began to aid the invading forces, providing crucial intelligence, mapping out hidden passages, and even orchestrating the weakening of key defensive positions. This act of treason allowed the Allied armies to penetrate deeper into Edomite territory than anyone had thought possible, bypassing vital defenses with surprising ease. Zohar, blinded by his colossal pride, refused to believe in such perfidy. He dismissed reports of internal sabotage, choosing instead to blame external forces, the superior numbers, the treachery of the enemy, anything but the rot that had begun within his own court. Finally, the Allied forces laid siege to Petra, Edom's magnificent capital city. Considered the very heart of their invincibility, a city carved from rose-red stone believed to be utterly impregnable. The battle was fierce, a desperate struggle for survival. Despite the valiant resistance of many Edomite soldiers, the city walls were eventually breached. This was partly due to the general's earlier meticulous sabotage, which had weakened critical sections, and partly to the demoralization that had seeped into the Edomite ranks. As the enemy poured into the streets, King Zohar, faced with the ultimate humiliation, rallied his remaining loyalists. In a moment of desperate defiance, his face contorted with rage and disbelief, he prepared for a final, hopeless stand against the overwhelming tide, his kingdom crumbling around him like the very rock it was built upon. The final battle for Petra was a maelstrom of fire and steel, a cataclysmic end to a once proud civilization. Flames fueled by the city's wooden structures and the invaders' fury devoured ancient dwellings, casting an infernal glow across the faces of combatants and victims alike. The air choked with smoke and the screams of the dying, a symphony of destruction that echoed through the narrow canyons. King Zohar, a figure of tragic grandeur amidst the chaos, fought with a ferocity born of desperation and wounded pride. His royal garments were torn, his face streaked with grime and blood, yet he wielded his sword with a maniacal energy, cutting down foe after foe. But the tide was overwhelming. He found himself cornered in the remains of his palace courtyard, the very ground beneath him trembling from the relentless assault. From his vantage, he witnessed the utter devastation of his kingdom, the screaming of his people as they were cut down or dragged away, the collapse of magnificent structures, the crumbling of everything he had so arrogantly built. It was a vision of hell, a searing testament to the prophecy he had so vehemently dismissed. Among the burning ruins, a lone figure moved with a heavy heart. Obadiah, the marginalized prophet, bore witness to the horrific fulfillment of his own dire warnings. There was no triumph in his gaze, only profound sorrow. He had seen this coming, had pleaded, had warned, yet the scale of the tragedy still pierced his soul. As the last vestiges of Edomite resistance crumbled, he stood amidst the rubble, his voice usually dismissed, now a somber echo in the desolate air. He recounted the prophecy, not for the ears of the conquerors, but as a lament for the lost. "Though you soar like the eagle and make your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down," he murmured, his words a stark commentary on the ruins surrounding him. "The pride of your heart has deceived you. You will be utterly destroyed." The words, once abstract threats, were now a palpable, agonizing reality. Edom was left in ruins, a testament to the destructive power of hubris. Its once proud fortresses, carved into the very rock, were shattered, their defenses breached beyond repair. The intricate water systems, the envy of the region, lay broken and dry. The people, those who had survived the slaughter, were scattered, enslaved, or left to wander a desolate landscape that no longer bore the name of their homeland. The invading forces, though victorious, moved among the wreckage with a strange quietude, even they struck by the sheer extent of the desolation. The once mighty name of Edom, synonymous with strength and prosperity, became a byword for destruction, a cautionary tale whispered across the lands, a kingdom brought to its knees not by external might alone, but by the insidious rod of its own arrogance. Yet, amidst this profound desolation, a fragile seed of redemption began to stir. A small group of surviving Edomites, those who had quietly paid heed to parts of Obadiah's message, who had questioned Zohar's tyrannical rule in their hearts, began to gather. They were the humble, the marginalized, the ones who had never fully embraced the kingdom's overweening pride. They looked upon the ruins of their heritage with tears, but also with a dawning understanding. They spoke of rejecting the old ways of isolation and self-aggrandizement, seeking instead a new path based on humility, cooperation, and a respect for their neighbors. This small, beleaguered community represented a fragile hope, a possibility for a different future for the descendants of Edom, one built not on rock and arrogance, but on the softer, more enduring foundations of wisdom and grace. The memory of Edom's downfall served as a powerful, enduring cautionary tale for generations to come. The prophecy of Obadiah was remembered, not merely as a prediction of doom, but as a profound lesson etched into the collective consciousness of the region. Unchecked pride inevitably leads to ruin. The story ended, but its message persisted, a lingering shadow of humiliation and a glimmer of hope, forever reminding humanity of the enduring consequences of arrogance and the profound redemptive power found in humility.